What if I told you that everything that you've ever asked for is already on its way to you? And the key to closing the gap between where you are and all the things that you want is to be able to read the simple breadcrumbs that life is leaving in front of you on a daily basis. The signs, the synchronicities, the coincidences. The challenge is most people don't understand how to read the signs, and so they miss them. But in today's episode, I want to show you how to start seeing these signs, how to create even more flow, and how to use synchronicity to transcend your current situation and elevate to the next level, whether it's in your wealth, your health, your relationships, or your life. Hey guys, I was on a flight from Mexico where my wife and my son and I were taking a vacation after running one of our big coaching events in Antigua, Guatemala. Headed back to Puerto Rico. We had a layover in Dallas and we had to stay for the night. And so we landed in Dallas in the afternoon. I looked for a nice steak place to go out for dinner, and we headed out for a great meal. And when we walked into this restaurant, the hostess kind of looked at me in a funny way. And as she seated us at the table, she said to me, do you happen to be an author? And I said, well, I wrote a book. And she said, well, one of our employees, when he saw your name on the reservation list, said, I think that's the guy whose book I'm reading. And I said, well, I might be. I said, why don't you just send over your employee? I'd love to meet him or her. So this young guy comes over to the table, all nervous and super excited. And he's like, I can't believe this. He said, I've been listening to your podcast for the last couple of months. My mom gave me your book, and here you are. First of all, Mom, kudos to you for giving a changed mind to your son and directing him to this podcast. What an amazing opportunity to share in personal growth with your son and to do it together. But number two, man, what a sign for this guy. He shared with me, he said, I really relate to your story and the challenges you've gone through and your stories of addiction and when you felt like you were purposeless. I feel like that's my story. So many people say, I feel like that's my story because I went through a lot of suffering in my life. And so whether it's being single for 10 years or 2 homes in foreclosure or, struggling with drug and alcohol addiction, there's a lot to relate to there. But this guy's looking for answers, and all of a sudden, the person who writes the book and produces the podcast that he listens to walks in to a table in his restaurant. And I said to him, I pulled him aside and I said, look, man, I don't know what's going on in your life. He said, look, things have just been tough for me. I said, I get it, but you got to pay attention to this sign, because if that's not confirmation that you're on the right track, I don't know what is, right? The infinite possibilities and probabilities of me walking into that restaurant and meeting him and being a reflection from the universe or from God or Jesus or Allah or whoever your higher power is, that, man, you just need to keep going and you just need to keep on track. I mean, what a powerful sign. And so I want to talk today about these synchronicities because they show up in our life on a daily basis. It may not be, me walking into your place of employment, but a lot of times I have this experience where I'm feeling a certain way or I'm struggling with something or I'm wanting clarity on something. And then the power of YouTube just serves up this episode. It's I know they're already listening to us through the phone, but it's almost like they can read our minds. Have you ever experienced that? You've probably experienced that with a lot of the shows on this channel, and maybe even this episode. But I want to talk to you about how this works, because I really do believe that life is always lovingly encouraging us to just continue going forward. For me, I'm into numerology. My numerological sign is a 33. And so I kind of pay attention to 33s. And, sometimes when I'm struggling, all of a sudden I see a 33 on the license plate in front of me, or even a 333. And it's just a confirmation for me that, Dave, things are going to be okay. Dave, whoever they are, we are here with you. And you're going to get to the other side. And so I want to talk about this in this episode. It's really crazy, too, when I experience it with license plates, because sometimes I'll be driving for a couple of hours on the road, and I'll glance one time over to the side of the road, and there will be a billboard with a 33 on it. So, these signs are energetic. And really, our reality is energetic. And it's important to understand that, because this is a scientific understanding of how synchronicities and coincidences are produced. Your thoughts are not passive. In other words, they're not just ideas. Thoughts are not a concept. They're an electrical activation in your brain, and they send off a vibration. I read a book, I forget the name of the author. It's not a book I necessarily recommend, but it was called Thought Vibrations. It was written in the 1800s. The point is that, even as early as the 1800s, they were talking about thoughts as a vibrational phenomenon. And Napoleon Hill talked about this. He said, thoughts are things and they're creating your reality. And so when you have a thought, there's this electrical activation in your brain. There's a lighting up of neurosynaptic connections, and there's a vibration as a result of that. You think of it almost like a light bulb sends off a light. Your brain and your nervous system send off a vibration. They create energetic signals that then move into the field. There's a lot of different names that people describe this as: the field of consciousness. You could describe it as God. You could describe it as the akasha, or the ether, or the unified field. But it's this idea that there is a field of intelligence that is permeating and underpinning all of reality, and it's hearing what you're vibrating. It's hearing what you're asking for. And so every desire, every prayer or thought is sending out a frequency, and when it does, the whole of life organizes around that frequency to respond. And everyone is influenced by your thoughts. That young man in the restaurant who had a burning desire to improve his life, and as a result found his way to this show and my book through his mom. He had a prayer. He has a prayer for change in his life, and I'm influenced by that prayer. When you are available and you do this healing work and you start to drop the resistance, you not only become available to the glory of your own life, you become available to be the glory in other people's lives. That's a really beautiful thing. And so, I'm scrolling through 30 different restaurants, and I picked this one steak place and happened to walk in there. That's not a random decision that I made. It was an unconscious influence by this worthy prayer, this ask, this desire that this young man had, and my availability and desire to be of service to other people. And so we all experience this. It's why suddenly resources show up, teachers show up, opportunities appear when you've been thinking about them. And so most people describe this as a coincidence. In other words, they think about like when their words line up with their thoughts. You think consistent and congruent, so you attract things. But really what's happening is your desire is pulling these answers to you. And life is leaving you these breadcrumbs along the way. The way that it works is that you have a desire. You want to make more money. You want to improve your career. You want to have more purpose. You want to just get out of the stuckedness of your life. That desire takes shape as a thought. You start thinking around these desires. There's this energetic resonance that you put out into the field, and then all of a sudden there's a response. This happens in really beautiful ways. I'm very clear that the topics that I share on this show and the way I communicate them are not my ideas. They are ideas that exist in the field, and they are alive and become active when I have a desire to put, high quality messages out there, and I receive these messages. That's also coincidence or synchronicity, the little hunches that we have that guide us throughout our life. It's important to understand that 24/7, life is functioning around you to support you. And number one, you realizing you're on track. Nothing's wrong. There's a lot of support. All of life is working to support you in overcoming whatever it is that you're overcoming, or materializing whatever it is that you desire. And the signs show up not only as thoughts that you have, but thoughts that other people have because of the desire that influences them, that comes from you, that starts to orchestrate all of these rendezvous. Hey, it's David. Quick interruption to your regularly scheduled podcast episode. I want to let you know about an opportunity to go even deeper into this work together. If you have not yet, please check out the show notes. In there, we've got links to both our Mind Hack and our Whole Human Framework programs. Our Mind Hack course is an incredible framework. It's the foundation of everything that I teach on this show to help you understand how to become deeply aware of the subconscious programs that are holding you back, and to teach you the technologies and frameworks to allow you to dramatically transform those belief systems and rewire your brain. Again, the Mind Hack program is our 7-day self-paced program. We also have our 12-week course, The Whole Human Framework. And we've got both of them right now bundled in a special offer for those of you who want to go big, want to go fast, and who understand that you don't want to put off another day of your full potential or holding on to unnecessary stress, anxiety, or suffering, but you want to be liberated from these habits of thinking and have a powerful living experience. Check out the link in the show notes. Jump on over to the website. Take a look at the programs and the extraordinary success stories of entrepreneurs just like you who have gone through these courses, and I will see you on the other side. And now, back to your regularly scheduled podcast episode. So I want to talk for a moment about how to see the signs. The first thing is awareness. You have to slow down enough to notice the synchronicities. This is why I pointed this out to this guy. I'm like, hey bro, let's just stop for a second and realize how amazing this is. And let's give a meaning to this. That you're going to be okay. Like, look what's showing up. Look how hard life has worked. My wife had to select this flight pattern with a layover in Dallas that we don't ordinarily do. We were going to order in room service, but decided we were going to go out. Of all the places that I could select, I select this place. Like, the universe is working for you. And I want you to realize the universe is working for you. It's working for you all the time. So you have to slow down and notice the synchronicities. For a while, I was doing a little synchronicity journaling, kind of like gratitude journaling. But I would sit down in the morning or sit down in the evening, and I'd write out all the signs that life was supporting me today. You know, all the things that showed up that were really quite miraculous when I slowed down to think about it. And not only did I have to become aware of them, but then I had to acknowledge them, right? There's a little framework here that's unfolding, right? I had to become aware of them and acknowledge them. I had to celebrate those small confirmations instead of just dismissing them and focusing on all my problems, which is what I would ordinarily do. Rather than looking at the gap and saying, well, why aren't these things here? I started looking at what was actually showing up. Again, the breadcrumbs, the divine croutons that life leaves for you, because they're evidence that you're being guided. And then as you're doing this, you start to align. You start to shift your self-talk and your thinking toward what you want, not what you fear, right? Because fear generates signals too, right? It's like Henry Ford said, the man who thinks he can and the man who thinks he can't are both right. The universe is agnostic or neutral in the sense that it's mathematical. It's responding to whatever it is that you're thinking, assuming that whatever it is that you're thinking is what you want. But our desires are broadcast equal to our fears. And so when we sit down and we say, hey, I know I'm guided, I know there's signs, let me look at the signs, let me be grateful for the signs and acknowledge them, we start to align our inner talk. We start to retrain our brain towards gratitude and appreciation as opposed to fear. And then from that space, we can be intentional and we can ask. We can actually put conscious questions into the universe and life will respond. You know, you can ask for things. I ask for things all the time. To me, that's a form of prayer, right? So what are we talking about here? Number 1, become aware. Number 2, acknowledge. Number 3, align. And number 4, ask, and life will respond. It's written in the good book, right, of the Bible, and is a law of metaphysics. Ask and ye shall receive. But be conscious of what you're asking for, because you could ask for your desires, you could ask for your fears. So most people, they miss the signs because they're too busy rehearsing the problem over and over instead of being present to the answers that are showing up. I want you to think about that. How often throughout your day, how much time do you spend rehearsing the problem versus being present to the answers that are showing up? You know, my coach told me, because I'm working on being more present in my life right now, and she had me go through this visualization where I'm in the pool with my son and my wife, and I'm embodying, I'm feeling in my nervous system what it means to be present. And she said, you know, notice there that problems can exist, but solutions exist too. Problems will always be there, but solutions are there too. And one of the things that she's encouraged me to believe, and I start to see it in my own life, is the moment that I notice a problem, a solution is already on the way. I want you to remember this. The moment you notice a problem, the solution is on the way. So start looking for signs for the solution rather than paying attention to the problem. This is really the only work to do. You know, if you really want to distill down personal or spiritual growth into something very binary, and I try to keep it simple in all the different episodes that I teach, taking these complex concepts and breaking them down into simple frameworks that you can actually use in your life, a simple framework would be stop rehearsing the problem or notice when you are and instead be present to the answer. And if there isn't an answer yet that you see, just move your attention to anticipating it. Your attention is the only thing that you can control, right? Attention, your consciousness, what you pay attention to, that's your soul. You're directing your soul. Direct your soul towards answers instead of problems. Problems will always be there. Notice them, but just know that the solution is coming if not already there. So you train your mind every day because your thoughts are creating your reality, right? You got to train your mind every single day. I've heard people describe this as thought hygiene. Another great teacher had something like a 21-day mental diet. That's what he described it. So for 21 days, you make it your absolute priority to notice when you're focused on the problem and instead bring your attention to the solution, or bring your attention just to the joyful things in your life that you have gratitude for, because those are also examples of solutions that have shown up in your life. Now you think about it, like at some point you were single, now you've got a partner. Yeah, maybe there's some friction in your relationship, but your partner was the solution to your being alone. So be grateful for it. Be grateful for the solutions that have shown up in your life. You know, you've got a job that you like. At some point in time, you didn't. And you asked, you prayed, and life heard you. You had a problem. It was the job. And the solution came up, which was another one, or you started your own business. Now you have it. Yeah, there's going to be problems with that too, because problems are the seeds for solutions, but be grateful for it, right? So do some thought hygiene on a daily basis. Train your mind every day because your thoughts are creating your reality. Number two, emotional coherence is really important. It's not just how you think, it's how you feel. That's why gratitude is so important. And training faith and presence, like I told you about that I do with my coach, into your nervous system, right? You got to retrain your nervous system. So it's a psychological game that you're playing. It's an emotional game that you're playing because fear tunes you into obstacles, right? And gratitude tunes you into solutions. Another really important thing here is being community. You know, I was in community even before I had community. In my community were guys like Les Brown, the Reverend T.D. Jakes, Wayne Dyer. You know, when I was feeling alone and playing this personal development game on my own for a while, which I don't recommend you do. I recommend you be in community. Those guys were my community through YouTube. I would listen to their voices every single morning. Like I really felt like I knew them, like they were my friends. So community is important. And then you got to eventually surround yourself with people, places, and environments that reinforce possibility and vision. If you want to get good at something, like the mental game and the emotional game or the creating your own reality game, you got to get in a dojo or a gym with other people who are training that way too. That's why we have our event once a year, the Powerful Living Experience. You can check out the link in the show notes. Once a year, we have 1,000 people come together to train. We train for 3 days. Then some people decide to join our coaching programs and we train for the rest of the year together. But if you want to get good at anything, you got to train. You got to get in the gym. I'm serious. Get your ass to the Powerful Living Experience. Check it out in the show notes after this episode. There's no reason why you don't come and join us and train for 3 days. Get your mental hygiene in place. Get your emotional coherence in place. Dial in your spiritual vision, right? Come up with a game plan and build it in a community because this is not a do-it-yourself project. Yeah, there's some daily practices that you can do on your own, meditation, journaling, prayer, breath work, like whatever tunes you into your spiritual connection, your personal relationship with your higher power. That's really, really important too, daily practice. But it's also important to do it with others. This is really the playbook that I'm giving you for transcending your current situation. This is how synchronicity accelerates and compounds. You're present for the solutions and the signs as they show up. You start paying attention to them more so you develop a capacity to see them even more. As you're bringing your attention to see the solutions and the signs even more as they show up in your life, you're paying attention less to the problems. This is how you change your reality. This is the game. Yeah, I was just super inspired by this young man calling me forth into the restaurant where he was working, and how everything had to line up in order for him and I to have a synchronicity, a coincidence, a rendezvous, and how powerful that is for him and powerful it is for me, right? For him, it's a sign of like, hey, bro, you're on track. A lot of times I get that from episodes. Like YouTube just reminds me through the signs and synchronicities, I'm on track. But it was such a great reminder for me too, that like, even when I get into my own headspace and even when I'm focused on problems, the signs are there. I think about it like a Native American tracker or like an indigenous person. You know, I mean, I've only seen it like in movies, but you know, they're able to go through the forest and see the broken leaf or the broken branch, and they're able to see the reality that most of us can't see. Well, you get to choose your reality. And most people are not seeing all the signs and the synchronicities, the divine croutons, the breadcrumbs that are being left to show us that we're on track and just to keep going, because the signs are already there. The answers are already on the way. And it's important to understand that synchronicity is not luck. It is the science of creation. It's how you're co-creating with reality and with everybody else on the planet. When you master it, every area of your life, your wealth, your health, your relationships begins to flow. So here's my challenge for you. This is my takeaway. I'm going to give you a little challenge, 24 hours. Notice 3 synchronicities. That's it. 24 hours, write them down. If you're a regular listener to the show, come back and post them in the comments when you're done. I'd love to see what they are. But pay attention. Pay attention and notice the synchronicities, because this is a practice. You're retraining yourself. Once you start seeing the signs, then you're never going to be able to ignore them again. And you're going to be able to see just how much life loves you and is responding to you in the most extraordinary ways. Really, miracles occur every single day. So I love you so much. If you haven't had the opportunity yet, subscribe, whether you're listening on the audio platforms or on YouTube. If you love this episode, share it with someone else. Leave me a comment or a thumbs up. I try to read as many of the comments as possible as I can. And like I said, if you haven't yet, check out our live event. We do it once a year. It's an extraordinary experience. You deserve it. Treat yourself. Give yourself that gift to joining us at the Powerful Living Experience. All the details are in the show notes, or you can jump on over to powerfullivingexperience.com and check out the tickets. I think right now you buy one, you get one free, so you can share the love with somebody else in your life. I love you so much. Thank you for being with me here today in this episode. I hope you have an extraordinary day filled with synchronicities that you notice, and I will see you in the next episode. Hey, it's David. Hop on over to davidbear.com. Click right here. There's also a link in the show notes, and sign up for our newsletter. You'll get immediate access to my free Mind Hack ebook, as well as a couple of trainings to help you master the inner game. This is a great way to stay informed and be a part of our community and be notified of special announcements. Click below, head on over to the website, get subscribed. If you loved this video, make sure you check out this one or this one, and I will see you in the next video.